Back up.
Brad. So you're going to feed
Don't let us.
My wife actually that's I haven't said
Be that
oh,
greasy.
did they make whole wheat pizza?
Without the grease. Ain't going to be as fun working this time.
Yeah, this is the old one. Do you have it in your email still? Yeah, I do. Okay, is that the one I have? Because I need to update it last month. I didn't save the new one.
Haven't got a call. All we want to know.
I usually say that. I'm
You want to know if that stuff is still there?
No difference at all.
That's right, I want to win.
Why is he a cheater?
Just, no.
He won't do it right. Well,
Pick them up front.
he never gauge his how better lose.
Guess we have to go up front, we're late for church.
You gotta go down there.
Oh, thanks, love. Thanks. That's what I am. Yeah, there you go.
Made a mistake of jumping off my lift or jumping off, the basket. Quick and
Otherwise, you gotta get this sitting. If you're standing back, you gotta make them sit.
I'll sing it.
What are you gonna sing?
They have you back.
Probably need a refresher.
Nobody's complaining about it.
I don't know. What? Same look this morning. Is that look never changed?
We're gonna go ahead and get started. We, little technical difficulties here. Julie has to email that program up for Jen needs, so she's gonna email that out there. So while we're waiting here, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank everybody for participating before we get rolling here. It's impressive to see the turnout. Julie and I were talking about that today, and I think I kind of underestimated myself and the company and everybody else, but I'm just blown away how many people are participating. So beyond this room here, we actually had 15 teams sign up. So there's a lot of people that could not attend tonight. We're going to videotape what we're going over tonight. So any of the team members that weren't here to hear all this, make sure you get with us. We'll get you a DVD or whatever. You can go ahead and play that for them. In this packet information you got here, the rules are in there. We're going to go over those when Jen's all done here. And then there's a PMR chart in there for you, just for your own information, whatever you want.
Don't look at the BMI chart yet.
No, she'll
You
go
guys will
over all
get
that.
really
That's just for
distracted before
reference.
we even get started.
Yeah, that's just for reference. And then the rest of that is her presentation, her actual presentation is going to go over here.
Alright, so you guys have probably all seen me at some point or another from the screening. So I was here bright and early a couple weeks ago, and I'm always really impressed by the amount of participation that you guys get in all of the programs. So I just want to commend you for all of that. You guys are the highest participating group we have in the program. So just a big round of applause for yourselves. Good job. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the facts of weight loss. But what I didn't want to do, and the reason for all of you being here tonight, is I didn't want you guys to jump into a weight loss program and do it in a way that could be harmful, unsafe. And we've seen some people do some really crazy things when it comes to weight loss. Who can relate to that? Anybody? Seen anybody else do some crazy things when it comes to weight loss? Yes, I see heads shaking up and down. I'll say that as a yes. Like the grapefruit diet, anybody hear of that one? Or like the cabbage soup diet, Atkins diet. You guys have maybe heard of some of these, maybe all of them. Maybe you've even tried all of them. So we're going to try to help you guys kind of unravel some of the myths behind weight loss. First of all, the most important thing that you need to understand about weight loss is that there are 3 major things that contribute to your weight. Does anyone know what they are? Just take a guess. Diet affects it. That's a contributing factor, not as much as these others. Genetics. So genetics includes your couple of things, age and gender. Those are major things, and we're going to kind of talk about that, okay? And then the other contributing factor is your activity level, which is a huge contributing factor for a lot of reasons. Okay. And then another thing about your weight that you need to keep in mind, so there's contributing factors, and the other thing that you need to really think about is that your ideal weight may not be the weight that you should be at. And then we're going to talk about the BMI chart, because everyone has a different concept about what they should look like and what they really should be. And women especially have a very false perception of what they should look like and what they should actually be. And that's a lot of things go into that. And I'm not going to go into the socio-psycho factors as to why we think the way we do, but there is a lot of psychology behind why we feel like we should be at a certain weight even though we might not want to be or maybe you shouldn't be for health reasons at a certain weight. So if you see, there's a few things here just to take into consideration. One of the things that I learned from doing, and I used to do biometric screenings or used to assist in doing that, one of the things that used to amaze me is that the thinnest people that I would see were most often, not always, but most often the unhealthiest people that I would see. And I like to mention that to people because everyone has this vision of these Abercrombie and Fitch models, these guys that are like super cut and lean and they're like this big around and pure muscle. And then women have this perception of like Kate Moss and they're stick thin and we think that that's what we should be. But in fact, that's not healthy. And a lot of times being ultra thin can be worse than being overweight. And I have always maintained, and there's a ton of research that proves this, that I would rather see somebody on a BMI chart slightly into the overweight category, slightly, and I preface that word, than somebody who is underweight or nearing the underweight category. So you have to be careful on both ends of those spectrums. If you're in the morbidly obese category, it can be as dangerous as being in that underweight category. And a lot of people automatically, they think that when you're skinny, you're healthy, and those two things don't match up necessarily. Everybody, and who said genetics? Because I loved that answer. All right, so genetics. Genetics plays a big role in weight, but that doesn't mean that you can't lose weight. So the biggest thing about genetics, and there are some really interesting studies going on right now to help us kind of understand and again sort of unravel this whole mystery behind weight loss, because it's different for everybody. Who's ever recognized that? That it's really, for some people it's harder and for some people it's easier. It is. There's other people shaking their heads. Mostly it's the women in the room because I think we're the ones that try all these diets out there. Not to stereotype, but I just think in general terms, women are definitely a lot more geared toward being at this, quote, ideal weight. And we have a harder time, I think, dealing with the ups and downs, and we're going to talk about that just briefly. But this isn't a new thing. A lot of Americans are dealing with weight issues, so this is not new, and this isn't unique to everybody in this room. But the important thing is I want us all to get there in a very safe, effective way, versus doing something that is going to create weight gain later. Because the last thing you want to do is invest all of this time into a program and then gain it all back. So we've actually put some parameters into this program when we did this years ago for specific reasons, and that was really to help prevent people from losing weight in an unsafe way, and we're going to talk about that too. Who's ever watched The Biggest Loser? Anybody ever see that show? Okay, I see hands going up, and I like that some guys' hands went up. Go back and Google the people who have been on that show before, like a year ago or a year plus. We used to actually show slides of people and some of the facts about those people that were on the show before, but almost everybody on that show, when I say almost everybody, I think it's like 80 to 90% have gained the weight back. Anybody know why that would happen?
Not the same measurement they were then.
Well, some of that. But think about their lifestyle, right? They're not working. Who here doesn't have a job? You probably wouldn't be here, right, if you weren't working, because you're working for Janetta, 309. I keep catching myself on that. So they're not working. They have a full-time trainer, right? Do you guys have full-time trainers? Anybody here have a full-time trainer? Anybody here have a chef making the food? So think about how unrealistic that is, right? Yeah, I see a lot of the women going, oh yeah, I am the chef. But I mean, it's unrealistic, right? And that's what we want to avoid in this program, is not setting up these unrealistic expectations. And weight loss is full of very unrealistic expectations. I have seen it so many times, this program especially, where people, we are our own worst enemy when it comes to weight loss. Hands down. More than any other health and lifestyle factor that we try to improve, weight loss is the one area where I see people most negatively impacted psychologically than any other program we do, because we are our own worst enemy. So some of these things I want to talk about is hopefully to help you guys avoid being your own worst enemy, because the very last thing that you need to do is beat yourself up about not meeting a goal. And that's a lot of times why people, like the people on The Biggest Loser, gain weight back, is because they start this downward spiral. And to keep it in its simplest terms, because again, there's lots of research out there that tells people like me, well, why does this really happen? And people in wellness are weird. We actually read that research because it's fascinating to us, but to the rest of the world, it's all very nerdy, researchy, and nobody else would ever read it. So to keep it kind of in a nutshell, is that people start to feel down on themselves. So what happens? You eat that one piece of chocolate cake, right? And you're like, well, I ate that piece of chocolate cake, I might as well have the whole pumpkin roll. And that's what happens. And then the next day, you feel guilty about eating the pumpkin roll, so you might as well eat the McDonald's. And the next day, so you can see how this easily starts to happen. It's that downward spiral, and we start to feel so guilty and bad about ourselves that in a nutshell, what happens is we make one bad decision, and that one bad decision turns into 10 bad decisions a week later. So we've completely negated that piece of chocolate cake tenfold. And I actually, one of my good friends, because I've worked with lots of my friends, and I've worked with lots of people who have become my friends, but one of my good friends, she had to lose about 80 to 90 pounds. We worked together for a number of years, and she called me on Thanksgiving one time just sobbing because she had like half of a pumpkin pie. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I know, but my whole week is ruined. I'm like, no. And she's like, yes, it is. I said, no, you had half of the pumpkin pie. It happens. Move on. Let it go. I mean, it really isn't that big of a deal. I said, so we'll do a few extra miles this week. But that is, I mean, it's pretty, and it was a much longer conversation than that, as you can imagine, because she was really upset about the pumpkin pie. I mean, I've eaten half of the pumpkin pie. Believe me, I've gotten over that. But it happens. But we are so quick to feel bad about the pumpkin pie. And so you think that the whole week or everything that you built up to no longer matters. And so we stop worrying about the end goal, and we start thinking about the short goal. If a football coach worried about one play in the game and didn't focus on the whole game, the big picture, what would happen? If he was worried about that one bad play and nothing else, what would happen? Probably lose the game, right? What would happen if you guys made one mistake when you're building? You guys were out at Kalahari last year when I was there for a meeting. What? You guys make mistakes, right? Not very often. But it happens. Maybe you don't tell anybody about it, but you know it happens. So if you worried about that one mistake, what would happen? Would you ever get to the end product? No, you'd be so wrapped up in that one mistake you couldn't move on. You have to be able to let that stuff go. All right, so some simple facts: body mass versus fat-free mass. Everybody has fat. This is a fact. You're going to have it. Everybody has it, and you need it. Women, you need a lot more of it, and I'm going to get to that. And this is an unfortunate part of this whole program is you guys are going to be the biggest losers, no pun intended. This is a common method for understanding weight loss. So BMI chart. You can look at the chart now. All right, BMI is not the end-all be-all, but it is the quickest, easiest, painless measurement that I have of determining whether or not you should be a weight loss participant or somebody who needs to maintain their current weight. So remember when I talked about your ideal weight? Well, I don't really know your ideal weight until I start to analyze this chart. Now, we could get really fancy and do underwater weight testing, but I don't think Jim is going to want to pay thousands of dollars per participant, and there would be no money left over for prizes, and that would really stink for you guys. Or we could do caliper testing, which means I would have to have you almost naked and pinch you in places that you definitely don't want me pinching you. So, to avoid all of those things, we use a BMI chart. And for about 95% of people, and you guys are going to fall into that 95%, it works. The only time it really doesn't work, and this is really pretty accurate 99.99% of the time, the only time it really doesn't work is if I have a guy, women, you really don't fall into this category almost never. But if I have a guy who literally lifts weights for more than about 2 hours a day, about 6 to 7 days a week, and I'm guessing nobody here has time for that. So, this works. It really does put you into a category that's going to be a quick analysis for me. Now, if I see that you're just on the cusp, so look at this chart. If you fall into that gray area in overweight, and I like to use myself as this example, I run about 30 miles a week, lift and do yoga 2 days a week, so about 5 days a week of exercise. Eat right for the most part, other than that half a pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving. I fall into right here on that line, literally within like 2 pounds. Okay, does that mean that I'm unhealthy? You can answer that question. You can guess. Yes? No?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. That's exactly the right answer. Because other factors come into play. Do I have high cholesterol? And I'm going to use myself as an example because I don't mind you guys knowing. I am not unhealthy. My cholesterol levels are very good. All of those things become a factor. Now, if you fall into that category and you're a smoker, but don't eat breakfast, you're not following a proper diet, and I'm going to ask you some of these questions during an initial weigh-in, some very basic questions about your overall lifestyle. That helps me to determine if you're right there in that first gray line, if you should be a maintainer or a weight loss participant. Does that make sense to everybody? Because what happens, especially to guys, is you kind of fall into that, literally, that gray area, and it gets a little tricky. But if I don't ask you some questions to kind of understand why you might fall into that area, then I might not really know what you have going on. So it is important for you guys to answer those questions, honestly, even if you do eat a half a pumpkin. All right, so this is another BMI chart. They're all about the same, except visually they might look a little different. And you guys can find tons of them out on the internet. That's where we get ours, because it's a national guideline. It's not something we make up. It's actually something that is nationally guided. So you can sort of see, and this is what we just talked about. This guy right here, if this guy were right here, this is that line right here. That's where it gets a little tricky. Make sense? This guy would have to lose some weight, and this person would have to gain some weight. And I do have participants that need to gain weight. That's happened before. Okay, 2 areas, 2 kinds of types of people, and actually now I've seen something recently, they're looking at like a rectangle person, so we'll see what that looks like. Apple pear. Why do we look at that? Because if you're an apple, the more fat you have around your heart, the worse it is for you. So if you're naturally this shape, and let's say you're 180 pounds at this shape and 180 pounds at this shape, this person is healthier than this person. Of course, lifestyle factors again play a role, but just based on the amount of fat around your heart, that's an important thing to keep in mind. So if you're one of the people who gain a lot of weight like an apple, you need to pay a little bit more attention to the cardiovascular exercising than somebody who doesn't. Something that I want to mention, because if any of you start an exercise program, if you've never exercised before, make sure you talk to your doctor before you get into the program and just start exercising. Okay, because if you start exercising 0 to 80, it could be bad. especially if you're, think of yourself as a Volkswagen bus, okay? You're not a Corvette. You go 0 to 80, you're gonna have problems, and I know this because my husband has a Volkswagen. So, and it doesn't go over 60, ever. So, all right, essential fat, ladies, you see the difference here. Just sitting still in the chairs that you're sitting in right now, the guys are burning more calories than we are. Why is it that husband and wives who join a weight loss program or do a weight loss program together, the wife always gets so upset with the husband because he loses all this weight and she doesn't? This is why. This is why. There's no trick to weight loss, and we're going to kind of get into that. I do have an extra 5 minutes, I hope. We're going to kind of get into that, and I'll explain why that is. But very, very in basic understanding, muscle burns more fat than fat. That's really at the core what it comes down to. Men have more muscle, women have less. And that is all just by design, because women are designed to have babies, whether we have them or not, and men are not. So that's it. I mean, that's really, truly it. Muscle burns, and it's something, a quick myth. Muscle does not turn into fat, and fat does not turn into muscle. Does anybody ever hear of that myth? Anybody ever hear that? That muscle turns to fat? What happens is muscle can atrophy, and fat can build up around it. You can burn fat, and you can gain fat, and you can build muscle, and muscle can atrophy. But it would be like turning your stomach into a heart. Muscle is muscle, fat is fat, two different types of tissues, right? So you can't make one the other. You can build muscle, you can burn fat. So if you have more fat, the more muscle, and this is where women, if you want to lose weight, lift weights. Because as you build muscle, you will burn more fat. Men tend to lose weight quicker if they do cardio, because you already have more muscle, so you're burning more fat. Does this make sense? That doesn't mean that women, you can't, that you shouldn't do cardio and men shouldn't lift weights, but you have to have a little bit of both. Women get really worried about building too much muscle. Not going to happen. We are not made that way. Unless you're going to lift weights, again, for 2 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, you aren't going to. Some women genetically are a little bit more predisposed to build muscle more quickly, but not many. It's just not how we're built. All right. Anybody here plateauing? You plateau. I'm sure everybody's heard this. There really is no such thing. That's, again, it's another myth. What happens when you plateau? Anybody have an idea? No. But that's actually a good point, and I'll get to that. Not the same, though. Not what I was looking for. When you plateau, if you're burning 1,800 calories and you're eating 1,800 calories, what happens? You plateau. Your body's taking in what it's giving out. So you basically want to prevent yourself from being a savings account, right? So if you want to burn more, what are your options? Eat less, exercise more. There is no trick to weight loss. It's work. That's all it is. It's energy in, energy out, or calories in, calorie out. So if you reach a plateau, and the good thing about reaching a plateau, and it will happen to, hopefully it will happen to all of you during the program. And the reason I say hopefully is because if you are doing weight loss properly and slowly and effectively, you should reach a point throughout the program where your body does plateau for about a week, which is a good thing because that tells you what your caloric intake is. Once you know that, you've got weight loss nailed, right? If you know what your caloric intake is, then all you have to do is increase your exercise or eat less. But again, don't eat so much less, and this will be monitored through the program too. You don't want to eat so much less, though, that you're eating less than 1,200 calories for guys, it should, and really 1,200 calories is even still very, very low for women. I really like to see it no less than 1,400. For men, no less than 1,800 per day. If you're exercising appropriately, and even 1,800 for a guy, and that's the low end. Ideally, women should be, if you're active, I would love to see you guys somewhere in the 1,600 to 2,000 calorie range. Men, 2,000 to 2,500 calorie range. Okay? Again, you've got more muscle, you get to eat more, you burn more fat. All of those things get to play a role. So, stop me if you guys have questions, because I'm kind of going through this very, very quickly. Genes are not the single determining factor. So, again, you might be more biologically predisposed to possibly gaining weight, or maybe you're biologically predisposed to losing weight more quickly. That's something you need to really monitor too, because people who lose weight really quickly can sometimes have the negative effect of yo-yoing. You ever meet that person, they lose like 50 pounds in 2 months and they're right back to where they started 2 months later? And that can be really, really dangerous. So the flip side to being somebody who loses weight quickly is that you can have a really negative impact on your health by going back and forth so much. So you need to kind of monitor that and be careful about how quickly you're losing weight. There's lots of reasons, health-associated reasons to losing weight. Because the whole point of this really isn't to be thin or to look good. That is not the point of weight loss. If you are not going into this program with the mindset of, I want to be healthy and I want to change my lifestyle, then you're going into it with the wrong frame of mind. It's not about looking good, it's about feeling good and being healthy. So if those aren't your primary reasons, and I pick that up on the program, I have stopped working with a couple people that are purely in it to lose weight and lose weight too quickly. If you lose weight too quickly and you're purely in it to win a prize, or you're really not focusing on the lifestyle, I probably will kick you out of the program. I say that sincerely only because I really, for liability reasons, can't risk somebody doing something like passing out, losing 10 pounds a week. I mean, we've had people try to do that before, and it's really unsafe. So you really want to go into it with, it's a lifestyle change, because if you change your lifestyle for about 30 days, it becomes a habit. And when you have a habit, you no longer think about it as being weight loss, it's just the way you live. Okay, choosing a proper diet, get moving. Best type of exercise is what? Keep going. The best type of exercise is the exercise you like. The exercise you like. Do what you like, just do more of it. All right. Being committed, I'm going to kind of skip through these pretty quickly because you guys are really committing to the program, so that is a huge commitment. Exercise. I just want to touch on this briefly. The dietary recommendation for weight loss is 60 minutes of activity 5 to 6 days a week. 60 minutes of activity 5 to 6 days a week. Activity is not your job. It's not even your job. I know you guys are active. There's a big difference, and it took me a long time to get my husband to understand this, who just really committed to a fitness program about a year ago. He's active at his job, works with contractors all day, lots of lifting, pulling, all of this stuff. It's not the same. It is not the same. If you're active in your job, it is not exercise. Okay? Exercise 60 minutes every day, 5 to 6 days a week for weight loss. That's the recommendation. That's not my recommendation to you if you've never exercised before. Be realistic. Do not go from 0 to 80. You are a Volkswagen bus. Remember, okay? You're not a Corvette. If you're older, you're really slow Volkswagen bus. All right? Age matters. Age matters because what happens as you age? Why does your metabolism slow down? You lose what? Muscle. And what does muscle do? It burns fat. So it starts to slow down. Plus, the first thing to go as you age, and when I say age, this starts to happen in your 40s. Flexibility, that's huge. So if you guys want to really be effective, try some yoga. And I know you guys are like, ugh, really. I will give you a free website. They have hundreds of videos, very high quality. You can do it in the privacy of your own home and nobody will tell on you. DoYogaWithMe.com. I use it all the time and I love it. And it is hard. And you will build lean muscle, and lean muscle is going to help you burn fat. And guys, this is one of the best things for you, especially with the job that you have. Because of the type of work that you do, your joints and your muscle, you are not building lean muscle and you're doing a lot of damage, possibly to your joints. You're definitely causing a lot of impact, right, to your joints, if nothing else. So the yoga is really going to help stretch that out, especially as you exercise more. So it's DoYogaWithMe.com. They have awesome, awesome videos. Do a mix. So who was it that talked about changing your routine, doing the same thing over and over? I heard it up here. Okay, your exercise routine should be changed how often? Anyone have an idea? Every 30 days minimum. Don't do the same exercise over and over, because if I do this over and over and over, what happens? Bicep curls. What am I working? Right. What about all the other muscles? You have hundreds of muscles, fine twitch muscle fibers all over your body. If you don't change up your exercises, you are not getting to those muscles. You can't target train. Usually, target training is the girl that I saw at the gym a few years ago. All she ever did, sit-ups, 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 sit-ups. Any kind of sit-up. Every core exercise she could think of, she was doing it, and that was it. Now, it's not my job to tell her, because I'm just there to work out. I don't go there as a profession. I just go there to work out. But I know what she was thinking is, I want this tight toned stomach. All of the other muscles are connected to those muscles. So you remember hearing that song when we were little, like the hip bone's connected to the thigh bone? All that stuff is connected. If you're not working out every muscle group, you're never going to get to this muscle group. And usually the place you gain weight first is the place you lose it last. Okay? Because that's the place where you're most predisposed, right? So if you're most predisposed to gaining it there, it makes sense when you think about it that a lot of times you lose it there last too. So you've got to do a combination of stretching. So that's, and if you don't want to do yoga, that's fine. But stretch. Lots of flexibility training is going to help you. And make sure you always do static stretching. That's holding a stretch. Never do a ballistic stretch, which is this. You're going to hurt yourself. Okay, hold a stretch for 30 to 60 seconds. Stretching, strength training 2 to 3 days a week, never more, never consecutive. So never strength train on Tuesday, Wednesday, strength train on Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, never Monday, Tuesday. Give your muscles a rest in between. Keep a diary. Remember to stay focused. Don't forget about the pumpkin pie. You're going to have bad days. Everybody just say that with me. You are going to have bad days. Okay, you really are. All right, try it again. You are going to have bad days. You are going to have them. Okay, problem areas. I know none of you have any of that in your life whatsoever. So when none of those things happen to you over the next 11 weeks, you'll be fine. But for the rest of us who have this on occasion, just be mindful that those problems, these are going to be your bad days. So allow yourself to have a bad day. Don't allow yourself to have 2 bad days in a row. If you exercise and you start a program, pick a minimum, pick a maximum. My minimum is 3. My maximum is 6. My dad's really sick right now. You know what? I've only been able to work out 3 to 4 days a week. That's not ideal for me. That's the way my life is right now. So, pick a minimum, pick a maximum, but be realistic. You still have a life. And your life, my life right now includes every single one of those. It really does. So you just have to recognize that stuff about yourself and don't beat yourself up. It's weight loss. It's not magic. It took you probably 10 or 20 years to get where you are in terms of your weight. It might take you a couple of years to get to your ideal weight, and that's okay, as long as you're going to get there safely. Enlisting support. So that's all of the people in this room. That's your support. Just because they sell one cookie that's this big does not mean it's one serving. We have a whole presentation on portion control that's about 45 minutes long, so I'm not even going to go there, but you guys get my point, okay? Just because they sell it doesn't mean it's one serving. Read your labels. A lot of things that are sold in one package and packaged individually is 2 servings. So keep that in mind. One of the most effective things to do while you're eating is to slow down. Let it catch up. We have this thing called our brain, which is this far away from our stomach, and for some reason, that travel takes a really long time. So slow down, give yourself about 20 minutes. They've done some studies in some Eastern countries, and the only reason that they could establish that they weighed less nationally than us, some smaller countries, I think it was somewhere in India that they did the study, if I remember correctly, was simply that they pushed their plate away halfway through their meal. They pushed their plate away and just sat and waited. They rested. That was it. The power of meditation too, and I'm not going to get too hokey on you guys and out there, but it's been really interesting over the last several months, the type of research that they're coming out with in wellness, and just being mindful and taking time to actually think about your weight loss goals or what you would like to actually get yourself to, kind of that vision of the healthy version of you, I guess is a better way to put it. So just taking time to actually think about it. So the power of kind of meditation and envisioning yourself at a healthy weight, that can be very powerful. Eat less bad fat. So really, I don't have a ton of nevers, but trans fat is a never. If it's a diet that includes eliminating any food group, don't do it. Stick with exercising. Actually, if it's a diet where all you're eating is one food group, don't do it. Stay on track, stay in touch, create meal plans. We're out of time. So I'm just going to kind of open it up to questions. Any thoughts? Okay, your weight loss program, and I'm going to let Kevin and Julie go through all the rules, but the parameters that I just want to touch on briefly. I am going to use the exact same scale during the weigh-in that you guys will have here. Reason being, consistency. Every scale is different. So what I always recommend is on the initial weigh-in, and I'll remind you guys all of this, is that you get that weight, you go home, and if you have a scale at home, fine, but immediately weigh yourself at home so you can see the variation. Every scale is different. I will always have you weigh in with your shoes off. Shoes weigh a lot. And I will always have you weigh in with jackets, like any heavy coat or jacket off. So just to be consistent. So when I'm going to use the same scales, I'm going to let Kevin jump in here, but on the percentage weight loss, basically we always review it on a percentage. So anybody that exceeds 3% of weight loss for any weigh-in will be excluded from the challenge. So, I mean, with some rare exceptions, and really I'll make those determinations based on a private consult with someone, but if you're losing a massive amount of weight at any given time, you'll be excluded. That's just for everybody's safety. You really ideally want to be within about 2 to 3 pounds, no more. Depending on where your weight is currently, it might only be 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss a week. I know that doesn't sound like a lot. You're thinking, well, then I'm only gonna lose 11 pounds by the end of the challenge. That's okay. Remember, it might have taken you 20 years to get where you're at right now. The safest and best way to lose weight, and it's really been proven that people who maintain a healthy weight after a weight loss program have only lost 1 to 2 pounds every week, because it's a lifestyle change. So, all right, Kevin, I'm gonna turn it over.
All right. So, nobody has any questions for Jen then? We're gonna go,
Jennifer, if this group would have a question during the period of time now till July 1st when it's over,
Yeah.
is there an email address or something that we can
Absolutely.
email you?
Yeah, Julie, Kevin have my email address. Don't hesitate to call my work cell. Email me. Email is usually probably the quickest way to get me because I'm usually in meetings with people like you guys. So, but don't hesitate.
So during the weigh-in, maybe next week, maybe you could bring cards with your email address
Yeah,
or something like that?
I'll do that. I'll make a note of it.
we can put that on there. So, and if you get a hold of Julie or I, we can get stuff to Jen also, or we may be able to answer some of the questions. All right? So, we're just gonna go through these briefly. Go ahead and stop me if any of these don't make sense as we get going. Like Jen was stating, we're not running the biggest loser contest. This is a race to lose as much weight as you possibly can, as fast as you can. That's not what we're in it for. I do have to confess in the beginning, that's exactly what I wanted to do. And Jen and I talked quite a bit about it, and I think she convinced me otherwise. So it's all about healthy weight loss. Okay, so that's where we're going to go. So the goals here, we have 3 small. Increase awareness of proper nutrition and how to lose weight safely. We'll cover a lot of that. The other thing, as far as the teams, I wanted to get the teams together to, number 2, provide support and motivation that help make lifestyle changes. So everybody that's on a team, you know, support each other, help each other, lean on each other, you know, all of the above. Well, the goal that we have set is somewhere in there when we do your weigh-ins, Jen's going to sit down, she's going to weigh the teams in, and then each person, if you're going to lose weight, she'd like you to achieve somewhere between 1 to 2% of your weight loss per week. All right, so I guess the best way to do that is if we do our weigh-in, the best thing you can do, as she said, is go home and weigh yourself on your personal scales at home, so you know exactly. It may not be the same as what it says here at work, but you have your starting point. Weigh yourself each week, and then you can mark down those goals on there. We'll have a score sheet for you, and you can mark all that stuff down each week. All right. So what you're shooting for is 1 to 2% of weight loss each week. If Jen decides you need to lose weight, if you're a maintainer, we want you to keep that weight within 1 to 2 pounds, somewhere around there. All right. And then that's right. You don't get to pick which side you're going to be on. Jen's going to sit down and talk to you, and she'll decide which way you should go. All right.
And we did have, if you don't mind me going over real quick, we did have a big discussion about the maintain versus weight loss, and I just wanted to kind of let all of you guys know that for a maintainer, it really is just as difficult to maintain within 1 to 2 pounds as it is to lose weight. I know it doesn't always seem that way. We had a lot of discussion about that in terms of, and of course we went into a lot more depth about why that is, but just for your guys' purposes, the maintainers are going to be just, working just as hard to be within that goal. And if anybody's tried to maintain a healthy weight, you can attest to that it's very difficult. So.
Is that maintaining for your initial weigh-in for each one, or say like initial weigh-in then lose 2 pounds? If I lost another pound, would I be?
You'd be fine as long as you're not going from, and somebody asked that question earlier, so to clarify, so let's say you weigh in at the 151, to be overweight, you'd be a maintainer, to be overweight, you'd have to be 164. This is for a person who's 68 inches tall. So if for some reason at the end of the program, you were 4 pounds total from the initial weigh-in, that still keeps you well away from that overweight range. That's okay. And those are the things that we're going to be taking into account every time that you weigh in. And that's why it's just important, to just allow a little bit of time during those weigh-ins, because if we have somebody that's that's sort of not falling into the perfect parameters, I mean, we're gonna have some discussion about it, so.
The team-based challenge and who's eligible to participate. The challenge is team-based with each team having 4 members, all right? No more nor less. If you need help forming a team, let us know. We can help you coordinate that. Whoever signed up tonight and does not have a team, just hang around when we dismiss everybody. We'll take that group together and we can pick teams or whatever. You guys can get together and talk, see who you want. I don't know if we have everybody.
There's
more
quite a few
people.
that aren't here tonight that we are recording it for, so the people that could not make it will have to watch the video. But there's probably at least another half of you guys yet that aren't here. So I would suspect that we probably have about 70 people that are participating maybe. And so there's quite a few that don't have teams yet, and so we're putting a list together.
So next week, we'll do this again for the weigh-in, and then we'll have more people that will be single, and we form more teams, okay? So as far as the teams are made up, employees, spouses, and dependents ages 14 and older, with at least one genetic inheritor employee on each team, okay? So the challenge is going to run for 11 weeks. It starts April 14th through July 1st. All right, we'll have the initial weigh-in, a couple midpoint weigh-ins, and a final weigh-in. The dates are all on the back here. So we'll get into the rules here. And trust me, there's been a lot of conversation about the rules. This is new to Jen. I don't think you've run a team-based.
No, we've always done this on an individual basis, so you guys might have to work with us a little bit on the initial weigh-in. I think I'm gonna have to really kind of work through how, you know, we have our spreadsheets all ready and we're good to go, but it may be a little rough on that initial weigh-in just in terms of getting the team structure.
So, number one there, the wellness coordinator, which is Jen. She's going to assist us through the whole program here, give us advice, and she'll run the weigh-ins. If you can't make it to one of the weigh-ins, we're going to make arrangements. We bought 2 scales. We're going to have a scale here. We'll have one down at Firelands Fab. Same scales, same one. I don't know, the same ones that you have.
Yeah, it's the biggest understand the
Yep.
Yeah, so they should be the same. So what we're going to do is, if you can't make it to that weigh-in, we'll allow you a grace period. Before or after that, you can come in here. Jen won't be here to weigh in. It'll have to be either Julie or I. We'll do the
Address
weigh-in
it
at
on
that point in
Firelands.
time. Okay? All right. So, number 2, the weigh-ins, you'll be given an individual weight loss goal. That's what Jen was talking about, the spreadsheets. We're working on those, getting those together for everybody. It's where you keep your weekly weight, weigh yourself at home on your own scale. All right?
Yeah, so actually, and that's done, so at the initial weigh-in, you guys will get this form, and so you can see it's really easy to track. You'll just track your weight individually, and then I've marked whether it's a self-reported weight, and then I've also marked which of these dates are the on-site weigh-in. So at the initial weigh-in, you're each going to get a form like this, and it'll be really easy to monitor and check your weight on a weekly basis.
Number 3 there, as we said before, at the initial weigh-in, it will be determined if you will be a contestant that needs to lose weight or if you need to maintain your weight. And Jen will have those discussions with you. For the challenge is based on points. We're going to do it on percentages, but we really like to encourage the people that maintain their weight, try to get a bigger group in here. So that's why we switched it over to a point-based program instead of just strict percentages. So if you're determined to be a participant that needs to lose weight, you'll be given a goal of 1 to 2% of your body weight to lose each week. Okay, and then we'll total those up. If you're determined to be a participant that needs to maintain your weight, you'll be given a goal of a 1 to 2 pound variation for each week. Okay? So, any questions on that?
Are you setting all that parameters next week?
As far as,
You weigh in, who's doing what?
yes.
Is this gonna be by appointment or it's a free-for-all?
We don't, I mean, we could probably set it up on, I mean, basically it will be roughly
We
5
could
to
set it
10,
up in a couple different
ways. I mean,
stages.
Would it
So
helpful
everybody's
if you
not
guys
sitting
to
down.
have a set time to come?
Yes.
It would help a bunch.
You know, or if, we'll have the different scales, but while it's
But
really
if
not,
you
you still
need-
need all one scale.
Would you weigh everybody in individually, and so not necessarily as a team, but, because each person's gonna have their own goal, and you wouldn't have to weigh them in really as a team, because then all of a sudden, everybody's basing on that, and each person would just be meeting their own point goal, you know, do you know what I mean? So do
Yeah.
we need each team to be here at the same time?
It is, if we can do this a couple of different ways. I can weigh you all individually, 5 minutes a person, or I can weigh you in as a team, and it would probably be 5 to 10 minutes per team. Where you're all 4 of you are in the room, and I talk to you as a team.
I think it would go a lot quicker if we made it as a team.
Okay, is everyone okay with that? Okay, so what I'll do is work with Julie to try to set up a time. I'll see if one of my team members is available, and we can, since we have 2 scales, do 2 different ones. Why don't we try that? We'll see what we can do. But we can set it up in 10-minute increments that way, because I'm assuming then that way you guys can just come, do your 10-minute, right? Go home. All right.
Okay. How the points will be awarded. You get 1 point awarded for participating in each weigh-in. So if you show up at the weigh-ins, you get 1 point. All right? You get 1 point awarded for reaching your goal, and that would be at the 1 to 2% of weight loss each week. So you reach that goal at the weigh-in, and you get a point for that. All right? If you need to keep that weekly log is really important. So you need to keep that weekly log. So you maintain that log, you also get a point. Now you get a bonus point if you meet that 1 to 2% every week. Then you get a bonus point at that weigh-in for meeting that goal every week. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. All right. So that's what Jen was saying. Should you lose weight in an unhealthy rate in a week's time, above 3% of your body weight, you won't receive any points. It's not the biggest losers contest. We don't want people to lose 10, 15 pounds weight. I know you can do it. There's a lot of people that can do it. That's not what we're looking for. All right? We're looking for healthy weight loss when we come out of this thing. Maybe some positive behavioral changes and just some positive habits that change. So at the bottom there, if you just, your team points without the bonus, you can get 48 points. That's for everybody on your team. So then there's a possible of 64 if you get all the bonus points. All right? So then to qualify for the prize, you need 36 points. That's minimum participation in order for your team to qualify for that prize. All right? So I don't know if you guys noticed on the handouts that we provided earlier, there was a prize provided for every team that participates, providing you meet that 36 points. Okay? So the dates here are where we have the weigh-ins. Today's obviously kickoff meeting, then the 14th we're going to have the initial weigh-in. You have 2 intermediate weigh-ins, May 12th, June 11th. Then the last one will be July 1st. All right? Once we get all that done, and then at the 18th, it's crew meeting. That's when we're going to announce all of the results. Okay? Right now, the dates look good. We've been playing around with them back and forth. There's a lot of stuff going on at Janata and Turner. We try to make things work out here. It's not to say, I know everybody's busy. The times, I don't know if 6 o'clock works or earlier works or later works. Problem is, we have people scattered out all over northern Ohio. And trying to get everybody back here at one time to do their weigh-ins. Or if we just say we have a 2-hour period, everybody needs to get back and weigh in at that point in time. Okay? So if 6 o'clock works, we can keep them at 6 o'clock. I know some people, it's a hassle. They either got to stay here at work or drive home and then drive right back. So we'll work that out as we go, I guess. Meetings and weigh-ins be held right here. Scale will be provided. We bought 1 scale for each facility. As I was saying earlier, should you be unable to make the meetings or the weigh-ins, let Julie or I know. We'll make arrangements to come in, weigh at some other point in time, and we'll walk your points awarded will be posted after the initial, midpoint, and final weigh-ins on the website. So if you get on the JHI FFab website, the FFab website, we're going to put the points on there for each team. All right. I don't know if any of you have been in these websites. There's a lot of information in there. Just besides these weigh-ins, there's a lot of information in there that you can look at. All right. Hopefully everybody was here just for the health benefits and the weigh-ins and not the money that Jim put up. But I'm sure that's why everybody's here. So first place be $1,000 for a team of 4. Divide that up. Same second, third, and fourth place. Every team that participates and achieves at least 36 points, that team will get $200. So if you participate in any at all, at least you can get $50 just for playing the game. All right? So in the event of a tie, there's a possibility there should be a tie in the end. Whoever's tied, we'll put the names in the hat and we'll draw a name out for first prize, second prize, wherever, how many ties we have. Okay? Any questions about any of that stuff? All right. Jen, you have anything to add?
Does anybody have any questions for me?
I guess if your team members aren't here, have them get a hold of us about getting, I'm not sure when we'll have the meetings ready, but they do need to watch the video before they start the weight loss challenge of what we just did today. So have them get a hold of us, or if you can get the information to them somehow, that'd be great, before next Monday.
There's a lot of stuff online here this afternoon. I got online and found some stuff, and they have just for tracking logs for your meals and stuff. You can get on there, print them out. I got this one's kind of neat. Those Dr. Oz's 10 weight loss commandments, and it's just kind of basic stuff that Jen just went through. Here's another one. These 3 sheets I printed off just for my team so we can win, so you don't got to do your own research. Okay? No, I have the information up here if anybody else wants some. So, anybody needs a team, stick around. Other than that,
Is there a best way to communicate with anybody as far as getting them a contact for next Monday? I mean, I could put them in paychecks, but.
Put the video on there.
It has to be, I don't know, I have to find out, but it has to be watched off of, not on work time also. I mean, since nobody's getting paid to be here tonight, videos need to be watched at home, or we'll set up an area here or something, so that, you know, maybe at home or something, they can watch it right here. Okay.
they read
So,
them.
we'll get a hold of us and we'll figure out a way, but I don't know, would it be best if I communicate with you through paychecks, or if you have a way that you want me to communicate with you on time, let me know.
If any of you have a website outside of all the supervisors
Email
have
addresses.
websites, if you have email addresses or whatever, we can communicate with you. Get that to us. As we find stuff, I'll email it out. We'll constantly look up stuff and send it out. Anything that'd be beneficial for everybody. All right?
We'll check. I'll work with Julie and try to determine what we do with the time so that you guys can maybe get a 10-minute slot to make it a little easier.
Once we figure out how many people are gonna be here, and if you have a preference on a time, maybe.
Yeah, that might help too. I mean, if some teams wanted to start as early as like 5:30, I mean, I don't know if you have some earlier people.
We have people here, I know, in the office, depending on where everybody's working at, probably depends on.
So I think it might help if you talk to your team members and maybe over the next couple days, get an idea of a time that works best for your team, and maybe submit 1 or 2 times to give us an ideal time and then maybe a backup time. I think that would work best for me too, because I know I always feel anxious if I have a line out the door of people waiting, so, because I don't want to make you guys wait. So, and if your team members are here now and you have an idea of a time, I think we can probably put that in there somewhere. Yeah. Thank you.
Nobody has any more questions? That's all we have. Once again, thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I said,